Welcome everyone to the Chris Parrish Podcast, episode 104, No Place Like Home. I want to thank everyone who is joining on my Facebook, my YouTube, my Twitch, my Instagram, and X account as well on the YouTube Turnbuckle channel. Yeah, I said that right. Whew. First things first, I want to thank everybody who is helpful to the Chris Parrish Podcast. That is everybody in the chat, but it's also Turnbuckle Studios, the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, and Beercade YEG. That's right. If you want to check out WWE Survivor Series, make sure you're checking it out at Beercade YEG, the official partner to the Chris Parrish Podcast, and you can check it out for free. And you know what? You just might be able to see me down there. You never know. Things might change. It's a busy time. But you also want to check out Survivor Series if you're not in the Edmonton, Alberta area, live here on the Turnbuckle Studios platforms, on the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program platforms, because there is a PLE Patrol for the Survivor Series as well going on. As we have CBRS Entertainment coming in today saying, howdy, Parrish. Hello, how are we doing? This is episode 104, No Place Like Home. Why? Because we're going to talk about all of the homecomings that we have seen within the last week and maybe some other ones, some signings. We're going to have some fun and we're going to talk all about that. But first things first, got to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. So if everybody here wants to check out the best way to help Turnbuckle Studios, well, let me tell you something. It's pretty simple. Just check this out.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
That's right, everybody. If you want to go and check out turnbucklestudios.org, the official webpage of Turnbuckle Studios and Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, you can do that. But if you also want to hit /join after that .org, you can get your direct way to letting us know how you can help us and maybe one day become a part of our team. So the question is, do you want to tap in or not? On today's episode, we're going to talk about the two obvious returns that we saw in WWE in just the last little while. If you watched WWE SmackDown just over a week ago, you saw the in-ring return of Zack Ryder. And whether you wanted a woo-woo-woo or you wanted more of a complete return, it was Zack Ryder who made his way out to answer the call against the one LA Knight. And yes, even though Zack Ryder did come in with a new version of radio, that's right, the downstate version of radio, he was also met with the BFT and took defeat from LA Knight. But that's not what we want to talk about. We want to talk about what we saw, the moment in time that was Zack Ryder coming back to WWE for one night. That's right. In 2025, can you even imagine Zack Ryder in a WWE ring? Yes, we did see Matt Cardona take on Josh Briggs on NXT right after Showdown. And Matt Cardona has even once said that Zack Ryder is dead. But when it comes down to it, the man known as Zack Ryder, the man known as Matt Cardona, they know one thing. And that is the moments make the business. So no matter what, whether or not you got Matt Cardona or Zack Ryder, you got a moment to talk about. And what I think is really, really cool about the whole thing is that we kept it a mystery. It was kept a mystery, not we. I wasn't a part of this. But at the end of the day, you had some fun. And in my eyes, Zack Ryder probably had one of his most competitive matches in WWE. Him and LA Knight seem to have this really good chemistry. So the question is, will we ever see Zack Ryder again? And we have to ask that question because did you really think we were going to see him at all? An equal question could be, is this just an opening for Matt Cardona to finally come back to WWE? We all know he wants to be back. We all know that his real life wife, Chelsea Green, happens to be one half of the AAA Mixed Tag Team Champions and the current United States Champion. So there would be many people in the locker room that would appreciate that. He is friends with just about everyone there. So the question is this the time for him to return home? We know that he's currently working in TNA, but we don't know what his contract status is. It's been rumored that he's been working on more than just paid per appearances. So is he truly locked down with TNA Wrestling, or is this just a means to an end? CBRS Entertainment coming in saying, I know it was a one-off, but it left me wanting to see him more. It wouldn't surprise me if he did appear in the upcoming Royal Rumble. And that's exactly something that we all have to kind of look at. Knowing that in 2 months, yeah, that's right, people. The Royal Rumble is really just over 2 months away. We could see a lot of surprises, returns, or things like that. We have been blessed in the last year's Royal Rumble matches to see homecomings of late as well. Whether or not we saw Andrade returning at a Royal Rumble, whether or not we saw Alexa Bliss returning at a Royal Rumble, AJ Styles. We also saw Jordynne Grace debut in a Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble is always one of those moments and one of those matches where you can always expect surprises. So it just begs the question, how refreshing was it to watch Zack Ryder appear on SmackDown? And then just mere days later, in another last time is now qualifying match, or not qualifying, but tournament match, Solo Sikoa was in the ring waiting to see who his next opponent was. And all of a sudden, I'm here to show the world plays, echoes, and the place goes insane as Madison Square Garden saw the return for one night of the show-off Dolph Ziggler. Now, we do know that he is currently contracted to TNA Wrestling, known as Nick Nemeth. But again, in a nice one-off way, we saw Dolph Ziggler once again. And Nick Nemeth has gone on record saying that he, if anything, would have only done anything with the TNA, NXT, or WWE affiliation if it was meaningful. And he didn't want to go back to NXT because he's felt he's done everything there on his last run in NXT. He became champion. He helped build up the Braun Breakers. He did that already. So he only felt if it was meaningful and it was something on a Raw or SmackDown, the main roster, he would be open to it. Well, being a surprise entry in John Cena's last time is now tournament, that's a pretty damn good reason to say yes. And even if it was a one-time thing with Dolph Ziggler as your moniker, it's worth it. Because even though Dolph Ziggler did what he does best, and that was perform at a high level and just make his opponent look absolutely amazing, sadly in defeat, it was also a moment that you remember and that you appreciate. And when I say they, Nick Nemeth and Matt Cardona both made moments in a time where it's very hard to find out a mystery and to keep it a mystery. Both men did a very well job of that. And let's face it, you watched the program, you enjoyed it. There was a second before that music hit, you were saying, oh, what if it's this guy? What if it's that guy? And then all of a sudden the music plays and you don't worry about what if it wasn't that guy or this guy. You're just happy that it's the one that you're seeing right now. I think that just shows that there is room in pro wrestling and even specifically in WWE that we can still appreciate the moment of unknown. We don't need to know every little detail that comes with the news, the rumors, even though there are many websites, including the podcast that you're watching right now, that want to know. And they feel like it's their duty to provide you with that information. But as a fan, you're still absolutely happy that you can sit down, you can completely ignore what's going on in the real world and just escape to the world of pro wrestling and be thoroughly entertained and surprised. That has not been lost. It just leaves you now wondering, with the speculation of whether or not a guy like Chris Jericho or even Saraya, aka Paige, will eventually make their returns to WWE. Now, we know they both were previously in All Elite Wrestling, and we know that Chris Jericho hasn't been on screen for the better part of the year. The same with Saraya. For Saraya, her contract actually ended, as we have Bobby Badito coming in saying, hey, Chris Parrish, hello, Bobby. How are you doing today? And thanks for joining on YouTube. And if you want to be anything like Bobby, he's one of the most and biggest supporters of mine. He always likes the channel on YouTube. So if you want, like that channel. We also have Benji4376 coming in saying, amen. I want to know less. I've been a fan for 40 years. I went through the smart mark phase in the early 2000s. I think you get so smart and you lose sight and get dumb. I mean, you're not wrong. CBRS coming in saying, Saraya's also recently mentioned that she's been getting back into the ring to train. The one thing, too, about Saraya is she said when she left, the door was still open to return to AEW, but also wanted to start a podcast, wanted to do other side projects, and knew that if she was in wrestling, she didn't have the time or the really energy to do other things. So having that kind of time to do it and just stepping out of the wrestling bubble for a little bit was beneficial for her to do other ventures. Bobby's doing well. He was watching Ilya Dragunov and JD McDonough for the United States Championship from SmackDown, which was one hell of a match. So it would be really cool to see Saraya when she's ready to come back to wrestling, whether it's with AEW or WWE. Bobby, thank you so much for liking the video on YouTube, and anybody watching on YouTube can go ahead and do that, as it's very appreciative and it does help the channel. I just know that if you're a fan of pro wrestling, you want to see moments like this. But if you're a fan of WWE, like I am, like I'm not going to sugarcoat anything when I say I do love wrestling. My company of choice is WWE. I've followed it ever since I was a kid. As we've seen Ben saying he was a fan for 40 years, which means over 40 years, you're watching the WWF, the WWE, maybe WCW and ECW. Could even been one of those insane fans that went out and watched New Japan Pro Wrestling and all the other Japanese things. Not sure. Let me know in the comments what all you were watching, Ben, because 40 years, that's a long time. Also coming in saying, if this internet existed in 1986, by the way, it's the year I was born, the smart marks would tell you Dynamite Kid and not Hulk Hogan should be champion. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a thing nowadays. Anybody, can be quote unquote champion because they quote unquote deserve it or earned it, which is something that I've always hated when people said they're professionals. Nobody has to say anybody has earned or deserved it. You do good work, you hope to see it. I think that's the best way of looking at it. So getting back to, people like Paige and Chris Jericho possibly returning to WWE, I think it's just one of those things where if you're able to see moments of Chris Jericho coming back, whether he brings back a light up jacket or the countdown, maybe, just maybe, a Judas in WWE would be an absolute moment. Who knows? We're talking about the man who always evolves. He's 55 years old and in amazing shape right now. And then when you look at somebody like Saraya, aka Paige, if she was to come back, say in the women's Royal Rumble match, it would just be amazing to see who she could have any sort of matches with. Could she even go down to, say, an NXT and help out, say, the likes of a JC Jane or a Fallon Henley or maybe a Tatum Paxley? Who's to say if her business could stay on the main roster and she works with somebody like an Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Stephanie Vaquer, or maybe somebody like a Julia. Been coming in saying I started watching with WWE, watched NWA, WCW, AWA, World Class Global, ECW, and Ring of Honor until 2008. Some New Japan, etc. Tried AEW when it first started, but couldn't get into it. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Ben. It's not the easiest thing or company to watch, especially if you don't like that type of wrestling. I'm not going to be the guy that absolutely craps on AEW because to each their own. But if you're somebody that does like a certain type of pro wrestling and then you watch something like an AEW, it might not be for you. And I kind of fall into that category myself. Even though I can appreciate a lot of the acts there, it's just not done in the way that I would prefer it. You're a storyline character guy? I am too. Bobby coming in saying, how about Paige versus Chelsea Green? I mean, sign me up. Anything involving Chelsea Green right now, I think is just a home run. And then Bobby coming in saying, what brand would you have Chris Jericho on if he returned to WWE? I'm not going to lie. Everyone. That might be a cop-out answer, but I think there's room for him on Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Hell, who doesn't want to see a Chris Jericho appearance in TNA? Remember when he left WWE the first time and everyone thought he was going to TNA? There's that big graphic. And then around that same time, I think TNA used a Fozzy song for one of their pay-per-views and just absolutely threw the entire internet in a, oh my God, Chris Jericho's going to TNA. This is awesome. He's going to go to the Impact Zone. We're going to get Chris Jericho against AJ Styles, which, by the way, still could have that again. Remember, guys like AJ Styles still have, like, he's going to retire in 2026. Who's to say we don't get Y2AJ one more time? Been coming in, and if he signs, he definitely appears in NXT and AAA as well. I mean, Chelsea Green and Ethan Paige, our defense against Mr. Guana and Lola Vice last night was a great match. That it was. Ethan Paige almost took a kendo stick to Lola Vice. Does he have a priest on it? Maybe on his naughty list right now. But yeah, we're just talking a lot of these potential homecomings, mainly for WWE, because yes, that's what I mainly watch. So knowing that we saw for one time a Zack Ryder, a Dolph Ziggler, could we see Paige and Chris Jericho in our future? And as Chris Best said earlier, we do have the Royal Rumble. As we have Andre C in the house, 1987. What's going on, buddy? How are you doing? Thanks for joining in. Appreciate you. Did a great job. If you want to support him, make sure you're going and checking out. He was on Point of View earlier with Bobby Munson and Ed Fries on our local establishment channel. So go check out that. And Andre does a lot of great review shows, whether it's with local wrestling or even, I don't know if you still do the Japan wrestling, but know that. Andre, if you're feeling a little ill, I heard more cowbell always helps. We're old, we know the reference. But yeah, we're talking a little of the potential homecoming to wrestling. And I think we all like a little bit of homecomings. Whether it is, like we said, Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, potentially Paige and Chris Jericho, that would be pretty cool. Ben coming in saying Paige deserves a redemption arc based on her importance in the NXT women's division. And how cool would it be if we saw Paige once again in NXT? Again, I put out the potential, what if she worked with some of the current acts in NXT? We talked about Lola Vice on AAA. We talked about Tatum Paxley, who I think, by the way, can we just give a shout out to the work of Tatum Paxley in the last little while? She has been killing it. And that turn from Izzy Dane on Tatum Paxley this past Tuesday on NXT, it was phenomenal. And Izzy Dane versus Tatum Paxley is going to be amazing. But Paige with either one of them. Paige against like a Lyra Valkyria, a Rhea Ripley. But staying with NXT, what about a Jada Parker? It seems like Jada Parker, for the longest time, is on that little, are we going to do something with her or are we not? Are we going to do something with her or are we not? It seems like she is at the dance, just needs the perfect dance partner to get her to that next level. A possible Soraya Paige could be that person that absolutely helps her get not only to an NXT title, but maybe to that jump to a Raw or SmackDown. Yeah, definitely has stepped up. And Andre coming in saying Jericho will return at the Rumble. If anybody's like me, the Royal Rumble is just a fun event for all of the best possible, oh my God, holy you know what moments. Because you're always going to see something new. Somebody come back, somebody return, but somebody always is going to surprise you. I mean, I remember just being in Indianapolis this past February. Not only was it cool seeing an AJ Styles return, by the way, going back to his old music was absolutely, for pun's sake, phenomenal. But also seeing Alexa Bliss return and seeing the evolution of what she was prepared to do. So it was absolutely just fantastic to see her return. Now we have shown a little bit of the help wanted, but let's let everybody know what you can get on every week with the Turnbuckle Studios and from the Help of Turnbuckle Studio, the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. So let's check out our weekly calendar.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thursday we go TNA when we brace for Impact at 7:55 p.m. Eastern. Friday we secure all details as we answer the call for the SmackDown security detail at 8 p.m. Eastern. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And once again, you can check out all of that amazing programming over on Turnbuckle Studios and its platforms. And if you want to check out more with it, please check out the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. I also want to shout out everyone who is checking out this podcast live on the Instagram. Please, if you want to comment on there, it will not show up in our StreamYard chat, but I will make sure to read it out loud. So don't be afraid to send any comments. We will let you know. I will talk about them. We are dealing with a little bit of technical issues with the Facebook side of things. So if by chance you are not able to check out the Chris Parrish podcast right now on Facebook, let me know, or please go to YouTube and check it out on either my channel on the Chris Parrish channel or the Turnbuckle Studios channel. Sometimes Facebook just, it is what it is sometimes. But we are talking a little bit of homecoming moments and stuff like that. But I also want to talk a little bit more about that Last Time Is Now tournament, as we got a lot of information this past weekend. We found out on Friday that Sheamus now has an injury to his shoulder and was taken out of the Last Time Is Now tournament. Now, I posted something saying, who could it be? And we found out that The Miz has now been posted as that replacement, and now will have a second chance in this tournament, and now will take on LA Knight on SmackDown this coming Friday. But I also want to talk a little bit of just how unfortunate this was for Sheamus, as a lot of us were looking at a potential match with John Cena and Sheamus if John Cena was still Intercontinental Champion going into December 13th. Could he face Sheamus, and we could see Sheamus do what John Cena did just a couple weeks ago, and that is become a Grand Slam champion. Now, we won't get to see that on December 13th, but who knows? We could always see Sheamus get that Intercontinental Championship. Bobby coming in saying, I hope Sheamus gets better, and earlier saying, I hope Montez Ford accepts Ilya Dragunov's open challenge on SmackDown for the U.S. title. Now, with this Last Time Is Now tournament, we do have a finale set. We saw Carmelo Hayes defeat Bronson Reed by countout. on Friday, as just about everyone from the War Games match kind of got involved, with the exception of Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. We also saw LA Knight pick up the win over Zack Ryder. We saw Solo get the win over Dolph Ziggler. We saw Sheamus get the win over Nakamura. That's going to be now The Miz. And we also saw Gunther absolutely destroy. I'm just kidding. Got the win over Javon Evans. We also saw Rusev pick up the win. And then we also saw Penta, I believe, picking up the win as well. So now we finally got graphics shown. Sadly, I forgot it. But I know that we have The Miz versus LA Knight. We have Gunther against Carmelo Hayes. If I'm not mistaken, we now have Penta, I think, versus Solo. Let me know in the chat. Bobby, this is where I'm reaching out for you. I'm looking for that hot tag. Let me know if I got that one right. So the big question is, who does everybody want to see win the Last Time Is Now tournament? There has been huge speculation that Gunther could be that winner and could be the guy in place to have that match. Personally, I'm now rooting for somebody like Carmelo Hayes. He was actually somebody that I wanted to see have that match with John Cena back when we heard that 2025 was going to be the last year of in-ring competition for John Cena. I think when we say no place like home, we don't always have to talk about homecoming, but we can also talk about homegrown talent. Somebody like a Carmelo Hayes. Now, we all know that he came from the independents, but we all know that Carmelo Hayes debuted against Adam Cole on NXT. Did the whole ruthless aggression bit, just like John Cena did with Kurt Angle. We all know they're both from the Boston area. We all know that there's a lot of similarities with Carmelo Hayes and the early John Cena character. If you're asking me who I think would be just a great young guy to maybe get that honors, Carmelo Hayes is the perfect guy. We're seeing Dominic Mysterio get a small program with John Cena right now. And just in a 3-4 week way, Dominic Mysterio is most likely the last real program for John Cena. So John Cena is going out doing a program with Dominic Mysterio. Could he go out with a match with Carmelo Hayes? CBS Entertainment coming in saying if they want to push Carmelo Hayes, then a win over Cena should help greatly. Yeah, I know win over Gunther can be absolutely huge as well, as Gunther had just secretly a great 2025. Won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship as he defeated Jey Uso to reclaim that championship. Retired Goldberg. So he has a history of retiring people on Saturday night's main event. So the question is, who don't we want to see? And I think that is the way we kind of bring it back down. Do you want to see LA Knight? That could be another possibility. Do you want to see The Miz? As a lot of people want to see that Miz John Cena match one more time. Do we want to see Solo Sikoa or Penta? And that's kind of where it is. Do we want to see Rusev and John Cena and see Rusev get that last match? And then once again, we have main event Jey Uso. and hear me out, but since Jey Uso got involved in Bronson Reed business, can we not predict that Jey Uso is going to have the same fate in his next match in this tournament, and we see the Vision cost him his opportunity of advancing? Because if I'm not mistaken, that would put him in line to go up is it Jey Uso and Rusev? Is that in the next match? And if that's the case, do we really need the Vision to help Rusev? CBS coming in saying, I don't want to see The Miz, and Bobby coming in saying, I don't want to see Solo Sikoa against John Cena. So, and I think we all can agree that this is an opportunity where WWE is going to listen to the fans. Ben coming in saying, I was hoping Obafemi got Cena's last match. I think a lot of people were actually hoping Obafemi had an opportunity in this tournament. I can understand and appreciate the Javon Evans spot. In fact, I would have loved to see at least 2 NXT superstars in this tournament. But I think Obafemi, right now, I think he is going to be one of those after WrestleMania call-ups. And I think there are probably bigger plans for Obafemi in the sense of I think WWE looks at Obafemi as kind of one of the next big guys. So I don't think him coming in from a tournament standpoint, and you may have that Gunther match, you may have a Rusev match, you might have a Bronson Reed match. I think you want to save those for bigger moments where it could bring you in better viewership, more money, more revenue, and all that. Whereas I think Javon Evans right now, you can come in, you can have a great match, you can lose, and it doesn't affect him because, well, one, he is very young, but there's a lot of growth still needed for Javon Evans. Whereas for Obafemi, I think there's more protection on the character. Not to mention, he still has closure for that NXT championship because he doesn't lose very often in NXT. So unfinished business with Ricky Saints 100%. That chapter needs to be closed before we see anything. And you never know. John Cena on Tuesday on NXT might handpick Obafemi to be in the Iron Survivor match. And maybe he goes back to back. Then, yeah, it was kind of surprising to see him come back at that time. But I do think it was to have that closure with Ricky Saints. Not to mention, this might be a situation. I'm not too sure if WWE has been very happy with the title reign of Ricky Saints so far. So the decision could be putting the title back on Obafemi earlier than what we would expect. So with all that being said, this is why I don't think Obafemi was in the tournament. Another guy I would have loved to see in this tournament was Ethan Paige. I know Bobby Stats was ailing for it. I was ailing for it. I think we were all hoping for a little bit more of Ethan Paige in this one. But especially if we would have got Ethan Paige versus a mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent was Zack Ryder, that would have been pretty fun for everyone. Could only imagine a Chelsea Green segment of who she's rooting for in this match. That he did. And Ben, I think what you just said about the match with Trick, I think Trick Williams is now more in line to be the next call-up. out of NXT before Obafemi. I think Trick Williams could be a Rumble entrant. I wouldn't be surprised if Obafemi is as well, but I think Trick Williams is at least doing it with the intention of coming up permanently. So, yeah, no, I'm just based out of this tournament, though, we can now selectively say who we don't want to see. I mean, I don't know if Rusev is necessarily the person everybody wants to see either, even though I think we all want to see Rusev kind of go into a championship soon. I mean, I'll say this. What do we rather have right now in this moment? Sheamus winning the IC title or maybe Rusev winning the IC title? I think I'm going to go closer to Rusev, being the next IC champion or an IC champion because I want to see a direction with him. Sheamus, you can always come back to it later. I think I just want to see Sheamus in stuff that I care about. And right now, I want to just see Sheamus get better and then back into something we care about. It'll be very intriguing to see kind of who gets through. There is a part of me that really does think Carmelo Hayes might actually be Gunther. And this is my reason why. Did you guys see how strong Carmelo Hayes looked against Bronson Reed? Ben, I'm with you. I do think Dominic Mysterio will also win back the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that was a fantastic way of saying, oh, Dominic Mysterio won't be in the tournament, but what I'll do instead is have my last program in my tour, in this tour with him. Bobby coming in saying, I'd be down to see Carmelo Hayes versus Penta. I mean, that would be a new matchup now, wouldn't it? I can't. I don't know if Penta will be tagged as the guy, but what an absolute stick it would be if Penta was the guy that all of a sudden in his first year with WWE, because we have to remember, he started earlier this year. He debuted in 2025 with WWE. Like right after the Raw in Netflix. And it was right before the Royal Rumble. Imagine if Penta in his first year with WWE also was the guy who had John Cena's last match. Ben coming in saying, having the IC title on the line in his last match muddles the waters in terms of storytelling. Yes, but also in the sense, and I would advise maybe to look at it from this perspective as well. Normally, when you say pass the torch, passing the torch could mean multiple things. It could be, hey, I'm slotting you as the next guy. All right. Like I want, based on, I'm now passing my legacy and I'm giving it to you. Or you can see somebody do that through the form of a championship as well, because a championship also resembles opportunity. A championship also resembles just the ability to be a bigger star. We've seen what John Cena did with the United States title and making that championship special by doing something like an open challenge. And that has been absolutely replicated by guys like Sami Zayn and now Ilya Dragunov, to the points now where it allows you to wrestle every week and have great matches like both men were doing, and exactly what John Cena did. But we can also see, like, if Carmelo Hayes was to become an Intercontinental Champion, if he was to defeat John Cena, who was still IC champion at December 13th, all of a sudden now he would move over to Raw, and maybe, just maybe, we get Carmelo Hayes versus Dominic Mysterio heading into 2026. Maybe, just maybe, now we're getting Carmelo Hayes in bigger storylines, because let's face it, there's a lot higher end attractions on Raw right now. So maybe, just maybe, we're seeing Carmelo Hayes elevated to these types of guys. We could see Carmelo Hayes go up against a Braun Breaker or a Gunther or a Jey Uso, acts that the WWE are very high on. And I agree. It's why I'm more on the side of John Cena losing back the IC Championship at Survivor Series and not keeping it to December 13th, Saturday night's main event. Carmelo Hayes and Finn Balor. Jacob Fatu would be a great guy, but we got to remember Jacob Fatu is on the sidelines right now because he is getting the majority of his teeth redone. He has a big dental thing going on, so he's going to be out, in my eyes, probably for the remainder of this calendar year. We might not see Jacob Fatu until January 2026. He very well we could see vignettes of Jacob Fatu returning at the Royal Rumble. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction for Jacob Fatu. CBS Entertainment coming in saying, it is interesting to me that the U.S. Championship Open Challenge has been successful for 3 wrestlers now, all baby faces, but I'm curious to see how a heel would do it. And Ben, I'm just speculating. I don't know how long it's going to be, but there could be a lot of complications with dental work. So I think there's patience with Jacob Fatu, because I think he is also another one that WWE is very protective on as well. And I say that because you mentioned Obafemi. How awesome would that match be as well? But getting back to that's your thing. The U.S. Open Challenge, I think, has been phenomenal because it's baby faces, because it's an honor system coming in. Why would a heel just hand out opportunities to everyone? That's not very heelish. A heel would not want to give somebody a title shot and have the opportunity to lose a championship every week. I think the reason why there's a U.S. Open Challenge is so the babyface can become that fighting champion and have matches every week. And I think it's better suited for the babyface. Again, I don't see how it would make a heel better, because if anything, a heel is just creating more opportunities for enemies by taking something away. And I don't know if that's sustainable from a long-term standpoint. If you want a chance to actually help out Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and want a chance to get merchandise, we do have an online merch store. It's called carlcarafel.redbubble.com, and you can go ahead and you can get your version, whether it's a Chris Parrish podcast hoodie, whether it's a hat, a t-shirt, whether it's any other articles of clothing, or maybe you want phone cases. carlcarafel.redbubble.com has that for you. But don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at carlcarafel.redbubble.com.
That's right. Not only is it a great way to showcase if you're a fan of any of our shows, but if you want to support with something like an article of clothing or even a piece of product, carlcarafel.redbubble.com is your best way to do so. CBRS coming in saying they could hand out challenges to jobbers while ducking legit challengers. I will also say, how many weeks would you see that before you saying, I'm tired of it? I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just don't think the sustainability on it is very high. Whereas for a baby face, you could do it almost year long if you really want. And then Ilya is building himself along with everyone he faces. Yeah. And it's going to be very intriguing to see who actually does defeat Ilya Dragunov, because that is going to be the big question. And right now, Tommaso Ciampa could be that person because he is the only one without having a match who's developing a storyline and a program with Ilya Dragunov as we speak. And he's the only one who Ilya Dragunov has yet to accept an actual challenge from. Just wants to call him a jackass all the time. I do want to let everybody know that it's getting to that time to say goodbye. But before we do so, I do want to let everybody know that next week, the Chris Parrish podcast returns with episode 105. And if you want to check that out, it's called Finishing Strong. The reason why, it's because next week represents the last day in November. And if you want to know this, that means December is just over a week away, and we're almost done with the year 2025. So how does the WWE finish strong for this year? Tune in next week for more. Also, another thing, just to let you guys know, I will be conducting an NXT Deadline Watch Party. That's right, live on December 6th, Saturday, December 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will have some fun going through everything NXT Deadline. We're going to enjoy that, so make sure you want to tune in to everywhere on my link tree. That's right, link.tr.ee/Chris Parrish, and you can check all the platforms that this watch party is on. By chance, if you do subscribe to Spotify, you can also check out the Chris Parrish podcast live on Spotify. So if you're a new viewer or just somebody that needs more fix, make sure you're checking that out, because the Chris Parrish podcast is not only live on Spotify, but you also, if you can, rate the episodes and help me out. That does help just as much as a like on YouTube. Hit that notification bell button, all that good stuff. You see my link tree down in the bottom there. That is the best way to help support myself and everything I do. So I appreciate that. I want to take this time to appreciate everybody in the chat for having such a great time with all the topics today. I appreciate you very much. Can't do this without you, and I wouldn't want to do it without you, because who doesn't like just to sit down and talk wrestling? So for this time, I'm going to bid you guys adieu and to say thank you so much for coming in and checking out episode 104 of the Chris Parrish podcast, No Place Like Home. I hope you have the great rest of your Sunday. I'll see you next week. And remember, be happy, be healthy, but be yourself, because at the end of the day, you matter.
Through the clouds, faster, catch us from falling coast to